Welcome to Odds.com's brand new segment, NBA Weekend Best Bets with the Whale Capper. And he is here in action with us, which excites me enormously. Whale Capper, how are you doing on this Friday evening?
Jimmy, it's so great to be with you as always. And the NBA season is in full swing right now. I am loving how things are going. It has been a super fun handicap so far. I know we are on the eve of the All-Star break, which is always kind of tough because I always feel like it throws a little cold water on me. So I'm ready to make the most of the NBA here over the last little couple stretch of games until we get into the All-Star break.
I like this segment because it gives our audience a chance to watch you work. And the day-to-day working is one thing, but when you watch a capper looking ahead, it's very interesting because of the 4 games that you've picked, we only have a full market on 1 game, which means on the other 3 games, you will be predicting the spread. And there are games leading up. They're in play before we get to these games, so we get to hear what you are hoping to see from them before the game that we are betting, which is really fun for me and for our fans. So we're excited. This is our brand new segment, NBA Weekend Best Bets with the Whale Capper. Are you ready to get to work, my man?
Let's do it, man.
We start Saturday, February 27th. We have 2 games on Saturday that Whale Capper's picked and 2 games on Sunday. We start with the only game that offers us a full market, and that is the Indiana Pacers, 15-15, 8-5 on the road at the New York Knicks, 16-17, 9-7 at home. Right now, we have Indiana as 1-point favorites, but that's moved to a pick'em. We've seen the leading indicator books also move that to a dog spot. They've moved that to +1 and given the Knicks the favorite. This total sitting at 216.5. We haven't seen movement there yet. We are shooting this video Friday night at 7:29 p.m. Eastern, so we are 24 and a half hours before tip-off. Madison Square Garden, New York. Pacers paced in the last 5, 8th in the NBA, 101.18 possessions a game. Knicks paced last 5, 18th in the NBA, 99 possessions a game. And they spent the bulk of the season as the slowest pace in the NBA, and they have sped up, legitimately sped up. And the pace in the whole NBA as a whole has been much slower than any of us expected it to be. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Pacers, a little bit about the Knicks, and then we're going to hand it over to a Whale Capper. This will be the second half of a back-to-back for the Pacers. They play tonight at Boston, and Whale and I were talking about this game before we pressed record. I have invested heavier than I would like to on the Celtics tonight, and I am very nervous. I've also got player props on Tatum and Brown, and not only do I have their points over, but I have their threes over, each at 2.5. Tatum at -115, Jaylen Brown at +145. So those of you watching this video throughout the weekend will know whether I'm having a great weekend or it started very poorly. And I've got a 2-week-old baby and a 3-year-old over there that need me to win. Okay. These Pacers have lost 2 of 3. They're playing underwhelming basketball. They're coming off a 111-107 loss at home to the Warriors on Wednesday night. When the Warriors shoot 5 of 26 from 3 and Steph Curry goes 1 of 11 from 3, you should beat them. And the fact that they were unable to do that made me think that I've got to take advantage of the Celtics at this market price, even if things are going poorly, and there's all this talk about Brad Stevens not motivating them and things of that nature. Domantas Sabonis, Malcolm Brogdon are doing all that they can, but it's not enough. Justin Holiday and Doug McDermott should not be relied upon as much as they are. The Knicks have won 2 of 3 and 5 of 7. They're coming off putting up 140 points. So different from what we saw from them earlier in the year. 140-121 home win over the Kings on Thursday night. 6 players scoring double figures. Emmanuel Quickley with 25. Randall with 21 and 14. Alec Burks, 24 off the bench. Derrick Rose, 18. RJ Barrett, 12. Reggie Bullock, 10. 77 first half points. 65.9% from the field. 52.9% from 3. 10 of 10 from the free throw line. What? Thibodeau has done a hell of a job. And then I'll leave it with this, Whale Cap, before I hand it off to you. They entered yesterday with the same record and points percentage as the Miami Heat and Boston Celtics.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Man. Yeah.
Okay. I can't wait to hear how you are attacking this. This is our only game of the full market. Take it away.
Yeah, so it sounds like the Knicks Knicks fans at least probably wish the pandemic had happened sooner, maybe. If this is the kind of performance you're getting out of your team, if they're focused on basketball. No, in seriousness though, the spot sets up well, in my opinion, for Indiana. A couple of reasons. You're coming off of a game against the Kings, which you just mentioned. Everything fell for everyone. 140 points, absolutely no resistance from the Sacramento Kings defensively. And now you turn around on a dime and you're going up against one of the better defensive teams in the league in the Indiana Pacers. On top of this, the Indiana Pacers at times struggle to find their offense. But the Knicks are a good matchup for them in terms of what they want to try to do. And in fact, the Pacers tend to perform better offensively when they go up against teams that give them open three-point opportunities. Knicks number 3 in the league in terms of allowing opponents to have wide open three-point opportunities. That's exactly what the Pacers need to snap out of their funk offensively, in my opinion. So the fact that the market is moving already in favor of the Knicks, and I'm going to get an even better price on the Pacers, is exciting to me. I make fair price here, Pacers by 3. So I'm more than happy to take them plus money on the money line. And realistically, the Knicks in general are circled as a soft fade anytime the market is getting a little too excited about them. And it all kind of boils down to their defense is not as good as the numbers say. I already mentioned they're giving up a pretty ridiculous amount of wide open three-pointers. And for whatever reason, opponents just have been unlucky in converting those opportunities so far this season. That will regress at some point. I saw it against the Magic not too long ago. People were expecting the Magic were going to struggle in that game. They can't score well. Well, every shot fell. And I would expect a similar outcome here for the Pacers, as their offense will look a lot better than it really is, given the opportunities to shoot wide open threes.
Let me ask you this here. First off, what's your comfort level backing a team on the second half of a back-to-back?
Not great, although I know I'm going to get a little bit of free money because the market has been overreacting to rest so far this season. We've seen a lot of steam in favor of the rested team in a lot of these spots, and it's moved more than I think it is worthwhile at this point. And because the road environment hasn't been as hostile, you haven't seen the impacts of back-to-back as significant, in my opinion, as it has been in years past. And actually, travel in general might be a little easier for these guys. Airports aren't as crowded. The roads aren't as crowded. They're not sitting in buses in traffic on the way from LAX to the Staples Center or whatever. So it is possible that the back-to-back impact is alleviated a bit this year compared to years past.
And what is your expectation of the Pacers game tonight? And I mean by that, are you going to bet before this game goes off, or do you want to see what happens tonight? And I imagine you're hoping the Celtics win to give yourself an even better number.
We're going to get to a pick I have later which it actually would be advantageous for me if the Pacers win. And in fact, sometimes you'll see the market overreact even more, expecting a zigzag if the Pacers do well tonight and then back-to-back they're playing the Knicks. So I'm not worried about a pace. I'm not worried either way. I think you want to. The only thing that would really change my opinion on this is if this goes to like 2 overtimes or something. I'm like, if this is or if somebody gets hurt. If Miles Turner, if they come out and they say, you know what, he's recovering from some injuries, we're not going to play him tomorrow. That changes things big time. So that's the only real risk here is you got to look at player availability and the potential for overtime here. But I think the Celtics Pacers game is going to be close. I think it's going to be really close. Obviously the way that market is lined, it's like now or never Celtics. Like this feels like a last stand kind of game. This is going to be the last time the market really comes and supports them. If they don't do it now, after as embarrassing a performance as they had last time out, and after giving up those heartbreaking threes to Doncic at the end of that Mavs game, I think Celtics backers are going to give up after this one. So I have eyes for the Celtics on Sunday. Spoiler alert. So I kind of hope that they break the hearts of the Celtics backers tonight. But that's just a slight lean.
Very, very interesting start. And that is our only game with a full market. Pacers, Knicks, and the whale capper moving on the Pacers. Market moving towards the Knicks right now. So it's a wait to see what kind of number that he can get. Very interesting start. We move on to another and a big game here. And we have a market for almost all the games going on tomorrow, except for this one, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Dallas Mavericks 15-16, 7-8 on the road at the Brooklyn Nets, 22-12, 13-5 at home. Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Mavericks coming off an ugly 111-97 loss at Philadelphia. They committed 22 turnovers, shot 41% from the floor. Luka went 19 points, 3 boards, 4 assists, and was a minus 20 while on the floor. Kristaps Porzingis, trade rumors around him, missed his third straight game with back tightness. He looked good Friday in practice. Carlisle expects him to be in the lineup. That starting good thing, because that starting five of Jay Rich, Luka, Finney Smith, Kleber, and Marjanovic is not what we expected from that basketball team this year, and it's ugly. Brooklyn, 8 straight winners, rolling without Durant, longest winning streak since they moved to Brooklyn, and it's come almost entirely without Durant, who's missed a 6th straight game with strained left hamstring. They're now 7-2 when Irving and Harden play, but Durant doesn't. Durant isn't coming back till the All-Star break. Landry Shamet, 19 points, 9 boards. NBA's highest scoring team, these Brooklyn Nets, 120 points for the 20th time. They've already that ties a franchise record, and they've only played 34 games. Nets are 15-5 with Harden in the lineup. Very interesting spot here. We don't have a market. Let's hear what you think the market will be and how you plan to attack it. Whale Cap or Mavericks Nets?
Yeah, so this one's set up well for me. I was kind of looking at the long arc of the Mavericks this week and intending to play all 3 of these games, and I took the Mavericks on the money line against the Celtics just because I loved some aspects of how Doncic could attack their defense. And then I backed the Sixers against the Mavericks on Thursday because that was an absolutely disastrous matchup. And I'm set aside the fact that they started Boban, which is yikes. But that aside, it was a brutal matchup because they have no one that can stop Embiid, and Ben Simmons can do a nice job disrupting things on the perimeter, specifically going heads up against Doncic. And it worked out to perfection. It worked out better than I even hoped. I mean, that was one-way traffic for the Sixers. The final score didn't even really tell you how lopsided that game really was. And now they head into play the Nets, and we saw the Sixers market open up -5.5. It initially came into 4.5 before getting some buyback in favor of the Sixers there. And so if the market feels like there's a 5-point gap between Dallas and Philly, I would expect they see about a 6-point gap between the Mavericks and the Nets. There may be a surcharge on the Nets here because of just how bad the Mavericks played last time. There's going to be a little hesitancy for people to get involved there. I'm expecting to see this settle around 6.5. And if Porzingis is indeed confirmed in that, then it may end up around, it may come in about a point. Now, Mavericks, I think, are the right side here for a couple of reasons. They can absolutely fill it up from 3, and the Nets don't even really try to pretend that they're going to defend the 3-point line. They're just kind of letting whatever happen and trying to outscore the opponent. That would expect, I would expect this to be a pretty competitive game. In general, the Nets, I think you can catch them sleeping in this spot, considering that they had such a successful road trip. They come home, they play a couple complete afterthoughts in terms of, teams that really aren't competing for anything in the Magic and the Kings, and just beat the brakes off of them. And, they're probably patting themselves on the back a little bit, looking towards the All-Star break to get a break. And I think the Mavericks can catch them in a low spot potentially. So this is a good kind of buy low, sell high, and I'll be back in the Mavericks with the points and probably a little money line as well.
Interesting. So with the idea that Kristaps is going to be made available, is this one of the games that you might want to bet when the line immediately comes out?
Yeah, opener. I think they play Kristaps. I mean, you've gotten the writing has been on the wall with the trade rumors that that they may keep him out for precautionary reasons because they don't want him to wear and tear, pick up an injury and squash his trade value. But the fact that Carlisle made that comment, as you pointed out, I think is pretty clear that he's going to play Saturday. I think they want to get him some good reps against the team that he's going to fill it up against, potentially, get some interest from some teams.
You're absolutely right, because he's been losing value with his defensive shortcomings. Yep. So I think that's a very shrewd point, that even risking injury, let's get him out against a team that can't defend him. So I think it's a very shrewd point. What an interesting spot the Whale Cowboys picked on Saturday night. Mavericks. And
it's going to be a great game either way. Every Mavericks game that is close is so fun to watch. Man.
Do you have any interest in a total here? I mean, do you think that this is going to be alarmingly high?
It's going to be like 242-ish. I would guess. And I don't, I think that's probably right. I mean, I remember seeing 242 for Pels Bucks last night, and my gut was like, oh God, that's so high. But then, I was like, I'm you're not going to get rich. You're not going to make yourself feel good betting unders in those kind of games. And what do they land, like 260 or something like that? That was unbelievable.
I went through the exact same thing. I saw it opened at 240, went up to 242 and a half. And I was like, come on, one bad quarter. And then I started researching it, and I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no.
Yeah.
Wow, exciting stuff. So that is Saturday night action for Whale Capper, Pacers and Mavericks. We move on to Sunday. Whale Capper gave you a little glimpse of where he was going when we talked about the Pacers. Let's talk about this spot right now. 7 p.m. Eastern. Washington Wizards 12-18, 7-9 on the road at the Boston Celtics 15-17, 8-5 at home. And for me, Whale, I need them to be 16-17. 9-5 at home badly.
Yeah.
TD Garden, Boston, Massachusetts. Wizards are on the second half of a back-to-back for this. So on Saturday night, the Wizards play at home versus Minnesota Timberwolves. They're coming off the surprise 112-110 win at Denver on Thursday night. It's 8-point dogs. Beal went for 33, Westbrook went for 16, 10, and 10. It was their sixth win in 7 games, and that win came on the heels of the beautiful overtime win against the Lakers in LA. Celtics lost all 3 games of their recent road trip. They've lost 6 of 8. When this game goes off, we'll have a better idea of what kind of tailspin they're in. Kemba Walker will be back in the lineup for tonight's game, Friday night, after resting on Wednesday night. That left knee is a problem. In their 127-112 loss to Atlanta, they didn't play that poorly. They only turned the ball over 6 times. They just couldn't stop Gallinari, and the Hawks killed him on the perimeter. Tatum and Brown go 1 for 14 from 3. When you go 8 for 31 from 3 and your opponent goes 23 for 42 from 3, you're going to lose that game. And it's a very dangerous practice what I'm doing now. And I'm not, we're 15 minutes before tip-off, and I'm getting nervous about the game clearly. And I don't think it's a smart thing that I'm doing, trying to catch a falling knife or trying to predict when a team will turn around. And I guess if I could go back in time, I probably wouldn't have made this bet. But and I'm not sitting here saying that the Celtics are going to turn their season around tonight. I just love Tatum and Brown, and maybe that's getting in the way. I see that the 2 guys with so much character and heart and soul, and so we'll see. We will see what's going on. Let's take it away, Whale Capper. 7 p.m. Eastern, Wizards, Celtics. Let's roll.
Yeah, the Wizards have been impressive. You can't deny it. The only letdown that they had was that blowout against the Clippers after they had come off that overtime win. I give them a pass for that. That happens. That's not shocking. And you really look at the quality of play and some of their, they're beating good opponents on the road. They beat the Nuggets like soundly last night. That was not fluky. That was an impressive win. And they draw the Minnesota Timberwolves on Saturday, where they're small favorites. That should be another win. This is a team that's playing with confidence, and their market is finally starting to kind of wise up and realize that, oh no, actually this is a borderline playoff team the way that they're playing. The problem in this spot, and why I like the Celtics really, is two major factors, and this is kind of narrative-y, but one of them is real. It's their 5th game in 7 nights. That is an awful lot for a team that is playing as leaning on their starters as heavily as the Wizards do, and that is coming off of some pretty difficult travel. They've had so again, this long road, a road trip followed by a one-nighter at home against the Timberwolves, and then flying to Boston to play the Celtics on Sunday it's a brutal schedule spot for them. If they happen to give us their best in that spot, then all the credit in the world to them. Tip my hat. You'll have to respect that in the rankings, upgrade your rankings on the Wizards. All of that is true, but this is a nightmare spot for them. And to make matters worse, the last time they played the Celtics, the table was exactly flipped. The Celtics were coming in after just a grueling schedule. The Wizards were on extra rest, and the Wizards absolutely blew their doors off. It was a Sunday morning game, and it was not competitive. And so the idea that the Celtics now get to exact a little revenge on the Wizards, who are in exactly that kind of a bad schedule spot, is absolutely perfect. I'm guessing that, we're seeing the Celtics go off as 2.5-point favorites against the Pacers. The difference in my power ranking between the Pacers and the Wizards is about 2 points. So I'd expect maybe 4.5. Now, if the Celtics, stink it up tonight, which I don't think they will, I think you're going to get an honest effort. This team tries hard. Like you said, the loss to the Hawks wasn't as lopsided. People ascribed more to that than really was there, I thought. And I think you're going to get an honest effort out of them tonight. But if they lose, this is kind of like we were saying, this is sort of the last stand for a lot of Celtics backers. A lot of people have been trying to catch that falling knife. A lot of people have been trying to buy the bottom on this team, and it keeps going down. And it's tough. Selling the top, buying the bottom is not easy. But this team is talented. This team is good. And, whether Kemba Walker ever finds his form this season is an open question. He looks pretty bad. but
I don't think that's about his skill set. I think it's about the left knee.
Yeah. It does look physical. It absolutely looks physical. But if rest isn't helping it at this point, and then they're asking him to play, a normal minutes load when he is available, then I don't know when it will get better. And it's spooky because they're thin all of a sudden. Outside of that, it's a 2-man show. They're not getting any contributions from Semi Ojeleye. Tristan Thompson is a failed experiment. Grant, I guess I like Robert and Grant Williams a decent amount. I think if those guys are getting the minutes, they're fairly getting minutes, but they lack depth at the guard position. Jeff Teague was a disaster of a signing, it's turned out. And, it's tough on this team, but they match up well against the Wizards in this spot. And the spot is this is one of those that you circle on the schedule before the season and you're like, Celtics at any price.
And if you can get under 5, if the Celtics look good enough tonight, I think you're right. Anything under 5 or under is go-to. Great breakdown. Very interesting spot. Man, the closer we get to this tip-off, I just feel my hands are leaking. My hands are leaking. Like
palms are sweaty, mom spaghetti kind of feeling. Yeah, I get it.
Okay, the last game that Whale Kepper is dropping for us, a very nice one. I love it. Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Golden State Warriors, 18-15, 7-9 on the road at the LA Lakers, 22-11, 9-7 at home. Staples Center, Los Angeles, California. Warriors won 2 straight. They play Friday night at home versus Charlotte. They're coming off a 111-107 win at Indiana on Wednesday night. We spoke about it off the top in that Pacers game. The fact that they could win the game going 5 of 26 from 3, Steph Curry going 1 for 11 is an excellent sign. It's just such a good sign for this basketball team moving forward. Wiggins goes for 15. He scored in double figures every game this season. That's good for him because he's someone whom we at one time loved up in Canada and have given up on. We don't even talk about him. We want nothing to do with him. We question his character, and we watch Butler abandon that Timberwolves team, and for the right reasons. And Wiggins was one of the problems there. Oubre finishes with 17 points. That's the first time in 5 games he didn't hit 19. He's playing good basketball. Steph Curry's streak of 14 straight games of 25-plus came to an end. He finished with 24. Wiseman returns for wins over the Knicks and Pacers. They're clearly a stronger group with him in the lineup. So when this game pops off, will the Lakers be in the midst of a 5-game losing streak, or will they have snapped it Friday at home versus the Blazers? And that game is tonight in a couple hours. They get Dennis Schroeder back. That'll be a big deal. AD remains out of the lineup. The Lakers' disappointing play came to a head in that 114-89 loss at Utah Wednesday night. And I believed in the cape of LeBron James. Now, I cashed the under, which was very simple and easy, and that helped. But, look, I was very wrong on the cape being put on LeBron, and I took his points, rebounds, and assists, and that went from 46.5 to 47.5. That was a mistake, and there's going to be mistakes, and I'm not afraid to mention it. I lost with the Lakers plus 8.5. I lost with LeBron, catch the under, and I'm not on the Blazers game tonight. I'm not sure if you are attacking it well, but I can't wait to hear your breakdown and what you are anticipating here with Friday night's games for both of these teams. So take it away, Warriors, Lakers.
So I'm not betting this Lakers Blazers game because this is an information finding game. And in fact, whatever I see tonight is going to inform a lot of my handicap and my play what I ultimately play on the Sunday game, because in all honesty, I see the Blazers and the Warriors are like carbon copies in terms of just general team level statistical snapshot. These are really similar teams. And so we've seen LeBron, we've seen Frank Vogel and Jason Kidd and company. We've seen them make decent adjustments at halftime of games when they have needed to get a fix. And the last 4 losses, I don't really hang much of that on them. Like losing Anthony Davis is massive. They've had a number of other kind of small injuries that kind of went under the radar that impacted them in a bunch of these games. And they played some close ones too. The Heat game came down to the last possession. The Wizards obviously went to overtime. LeBron makes a couple of bunnies or free throws here and there. They aren't on a 4-game losing streak, so it's a very I think it's a little bit of a misleading conclusion to say the Lakers are as cool as the market made them. At least last game, what were they? 9-point underdogs to the Jazz. Like that was a pretty disrespectful number, I thought. And it kind of telegraphed that somebody knew the Lakers weren't going to give you 100% in that game, and sure enough, they didn't. But I think you'll get 100% out of the Lakers tonight. I'm interested to see what they do in terms of defensive adjustments, especially. Are they trying to chase guys off the 3-point line? Are they putting a bigger body on Damian Lillard? Does that work? Because right now I'm inclined to lean Lakers in this spot against the Warriors. They played earlier this season. The Warriors came away with the victory. It wasn't an especially impressive performance, but it was a victory nonetheless. And to a degree, I think the Lakers can take a lot away from that and adjust for this game. Market-wise, it's interesting. I would have expected the Blazers to be about 8.5-point dogs if Anthony Davis was healthy. And so the fact that they're 5 here tells me the market thinks AD against a team like the Blazers is worth about 3.5 points. I would again expect a very similar market shape for Sunday's Lakers-Warriors game, total in the 222 to 225 range, and then about 5 or 5.5 points for the Lakers. If we see some signs that the Lakers defense is dialed in against this Portland team tonight, especially in the second half, then I'm going to get involved with the Lakers on Sunday as well.
Wow, just a fascinating breakdown. How exciting for all of us to see how you look ahead at these matchups. I enjoyed this immensely. Let's just quickly review Whale Cappers action. We start 8 p.m. on Saturday night, and it is the Indiana Pacers, and the market's already moving towards the New York Knicks, and Pacers are playing tonight, so that'll be very interesting. Then at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, he's on the Mavericks. We expect Kristaps Porzingis to be in the lineup, announced in the lineup. When he does, there'll be likely a market move in their direction, so he wants to take the Mavericks on the opener against the Brooklyn Nets. Then on Sunday, we have the Celtics and the Wizards in a very tough spot. Sorry, that's I have a 2-week-old son there in the background.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So the Celtics, and we're going to see what they do tonight, Friday night, and then Wales backing them on Sunday. And then at 8 p.m., it's an information situation where both teams are in action tonight, Friday night. And if Whale sees the Lakers locked in defensively, then
Jimmy Jr., not a Lakers fan.
he's not happy with your selection there. And we still haven't finalized the name yet, Whale, but we're in Toronto, and we, the rich sports history of Toronto, we're very close to naming him Carter after Vince and Joe and Jay-Z and President Carter, who's still building homes as a 90-year-old. There you have it. A little bit of a surprise ending there. Whale, you have a spectacular podcast, a deep dive podcast, Mondays and Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern. I absolutely love it. Could you tell our listeners a little bit about the podcast and what's coming up?
Oh, of course. We do a pretty heavy-duty NFL handicap during the regular season of the NFL. And then once the NFL regular season is a wrap, we rotate into evergreen topics. This week we talked about bankroll management. We had a guy who's been trading, working for sports books and was an active trader across the pond in the UK for about 15 years. We interviewed him and got some insight into how that operation works and what you can learn from that and how you can improve your handicap for, just in seeing what it's like, behind the counter and the decision making. So evergreen industry related stuff will carry throughout the rest of this off season, and of course we'll do some standalone podcasts, for the big events, the Kentucky Derbies, the Masters, the NFL Draft. That there's Euro soccer coming up this summer that I'm excited about, and the Olympics, of course, is going to be a fun handicap as well. So we'll be hitting all things sports betting throughout the rest of this off season, and check us out at the Deep Dive Podcast.
Deep Dive Podcast, Monday and Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. And follow our man, the Whale Capper, on Twitter at @whale_capper. Man, what a fun thing we're doing here. NBA weekend best bets with the Whale Capper. Thanks so much for joining us. Our odds cappers that we work with every day, they absolutely love your insights. So thank you for sharing them with us, my friend.
I love it, man. And if there's anything you take away from this podcast, if you can think ahead a couple of games about a specific spot or how a team is matches up, you will be blown away at how much that will help you improve your handicap. I have been this season, now that I've been forced to kind of think ahead in terms of coming up. Creating content for the NBA is tough, such a short shelf life, but if you do look into the future and you really think about the numbers and what the market's going to open in that, it really is incredible how much it can help you.
It's well put. Well put. On behalf of Whale Capper and myself and everybody, odds.com, thank you guys so much for watching. Let's have a profitable weekend. And hopefully when you're watching this, the Celtics won on Friday night.
Won by